In this video, we'll be talking about few concepts that you need to understand before watching the movie Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, if you are someone who haven't followed the MCU post Endgame quite religiously and may have skipped a few movies or may have skipped a few TV shows, then this video is definitely for you, because if you do not know these concepts, then watching Deadpool and Wolverine is just a lost cause. But anyways, even if you are someone who have followed the MCU post Endgame quite religiously and you have watched all the movies and TV shows, but still you need a refresher on all of these concepts, you can watch this video to just get a refresher on all of these concepts, because as I said, all of these concepts are going to be pretty important to understand Deadpool and Wolverine. But anyways, let's start with the first concept. First, we need to talk about the void. Now, the void is a place that is situated at the end of time. You can say it is kind of a dumping ground for the TVA. That means if any member of the TVA prunes anything or anyone, it gets sent into the end of time. That means it gets sent into the dumping ground. That means it gets sent into the void. Now, in Loki season 1, we were introduced to the concept of void, where we saw plenty of variants of Loki were actually sent there. Now, at the same void, we also saw Citadel, the place where He Who Remains actually lived. Now, guarding the Citadel, there was actually a creature called as Alioth, whom we will talk about in a minute, and we'll also talk about the TVA in detail in a minute. But now, if I talk about the trailers and teasers of Deadpool and Wolverine, we can clearly see the void multiple times in the trailer and the teaser, and this giant Ant-Man head was also present in there. And in this giant head of Ant-Man, we assume that the main villain of this movie, Cassandra Nova, actually lives. Let's talk about Alioth now. Now, Alioth is a creature who is present at the end of time at the void and who consumes anything and everything that is sent to him. Now, he is a creature born from the tears in reality and is capable of consuming time and space itself. Now, as far as we know, Alioth has two things to do. Number one, eats everything that comes in the void, and number two, guard the Citadel where He Who Remains actually lived. But let's talk about the history of Alioth, because that's pretty important. At the end of Loki season 1, we are explained that during the Multiversal War, He Who Remains figured out how to harness the power of Alioth, and hence he used him to end the Multiversal War and create the TVA. And in this scene from the trailer of Deadpool and Wolverine, we can clearly see Alioth is marching towards our heroes, and maybe that's why they jumped through this portal. Now, there are many questions surrounding Alioth and surrounding the entire void, to be honest, but I think this much should give you a better understanding of the whole concept. Now, let's talk about concept number 3, the variants. There can be countless variants of a single character. Now, the most famous example is about Spider-Man No Way Home, in which we saw 3 different variants of Spider-Man. Now, in the Loki series as well, we saw plenty of different variants of Loki, but the most important thing about the variants of any character is this, that the variants of a single character can be played by different actors. That means it is not necessary for every variant of a character to look similar to each other. Now, this is where the variants in Deadpool and Wolverine actually comes into play. It is rumored that there are going to be more than 5 variants of Deadpool in this movie and about 3 variants of Wolverine in this movie. And the Deadpool variants actually include Ladypool, Dogpool, Kidpool, and many more other variants of Deadpool. Let me share you just a fun fact about Dogpool. The dog who plays the role of Dogpool in this movie, the dog, actually the real dog, was actually voted as the ugliest dog in the UK. Yeah, that's right. But here's the important thing that you need to know about the variants of Wolverine. Now, the main variant that we are going to see in this movie is not the same variant that we saw in the Logan movie, the 2017 Logan movie, where famously Logan died. Now, that death of Wolverine, that death of Logan was so iconic that the creators of this movie in fact said that we are not going to touch that ending of Logan and we are just keeping it sacred, and this Wolverine is going to be a different variant that we are going to see in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Now, let's finally talk about the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. Now, the TVA was created by He Who Remains and is situated outside time and space. Now, its primary objective was to prevent the sacred timeline. That means prevent any creation of any alternate timelines. That means He Who Remains philosophy was that there should be only one timeline, one sacred timeline, and there should not be any alternate timelines. But because of this philosophy, he actually constrained people's free will, and that was the main conflict of Loki season 1 and Loki season 2. The entire debate about Loki season 1 and Loki season 2 was that this philosophy itself, that there should be free will to people, and if we constrain the free will, we are actually constraining the number of alternate realities that are creating, and therefore we are maintaining a sacred timeline. But of course, at the end of Loki season 2, Loki actually promoted free will and defeated He Who Remains and allowed the creation of multiple timelines. And now the job of the TVA, in fact the job of the new TVA, is now to just watch the multiverse for any variants of Kang and try to contain him, because the variants of Kang was the main threat, not the creation of multiple timelines. Now this is quite important because there are chances that the TVA that we see in the movie Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be a different TVA that we saw in the Loki series. Well, there is a lot of mystery around this fact, and I really don't want to put my head to it because the mystery is going to be pretty interesting to be revealed in the movie. Now let's talk about our final concept called as incursions that we encountered in the movie Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Now incursion means when the boundary between two universes actually collide with each other. Suppose this is universe A, this is universe B, and if their boundaries actually collide into each other, then either both of the universe or one of the universe will actually cease to exist, will actually destroy. But how does the incursions happen? Now incursions happens because if a certain character actually travels into a different universe and stays there for a long period of time, and also perhaps makes some important changes in that universe which is not his own universe. Now this is where incursions happen, and this is where the universes could collide. But in the context of our movie Deadpool and Wolverine, I think incursions could be related to the backstory of our main Wolverine, that how our main Wolverine actually ends up where he ends up. But to be really tell you quite frankly, I don't want to stress upon the concept of incursions. Just understand what incursions is, because incursions is a concept that has been changed by MCU itself. Like, I don't think there is a set rule in place of incursions as of now, but I hope to get a clear idea on the concept of incursions in upcoming movies. But yeah, I hope this video was of any help to you if you have not seen any of the Marvel movies after Endgame. And even if you already knew all these concepts, I think it would have been a good refresher for you to just catch up on all of these concepts. I highly recommend you to check out this playlist in which I have made a ton of videos related to Deadpool and Wolverine. And also, if you're a Stranger Things fans, do not miss this video. So as always, thank you so much for watching.